AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
This is Yul Vazquez, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast with your host, the great Steve Owens.
Yeah, AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Yul Vazquez. Yul is a Tony Award nominated actor who you have seen in everything from Seinfeld to Severance to Magic City and so much more. I do bring up those specific 3 projects because those are all near and dear to my heart. But Yul is also a painter, a photographer, and he has created one of the coolest ball caps I've ever seen. We do talk about the hat, and we talk about his painting and his photography, as well as getting to know how he came to be an actor. Born in Cuba, Yul, his mother, his sister, and his grandmother escaped Castro's Cuba. And Yul just wanted to be a guitar player. He just wanted to be Jimmy Page when he grew up. So naturally, as with all talented people, you can't hold him back. He was in 2 different bands, signed to 2 different major record labels before he even became an actor. So we talk about some of that life and the music part of his life, some of his friends that he has met along the way, which blew my mind. And then we talk about his acting, how he got into acting, who helped him get there, and what it was like on some of the sets of the projects that I mentioned. And also, as we record this, just a couple of days away is the 23rd anniversary of him and his wife, Linda Larkin. You know her as Princess Jasmine. That's right. Not only is Yul Vazquez an amazing actor, guitarist, painter, photographer, hat designer, but he's also married to a real-life Disney princess. Good Lord. This guy is amazing. We had so much fun. We talk about everything. He shares stories. I share stories about his stories. It's so weird. I probably shared more stories about his friends than he did. Yul Vazquez is an amazing talent. I love this dude. And this is my conversation with guitarist, painter, photographer, and actor Yul Vazquez.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Yul Vazquez. How you doing today, man?
Hey, man, I'm really good, brother. How you doing?
I cannot complain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great and powerful wizard of... this is Yul Vazquez, the same thing. This dude's amazing. And y'all can't see it, but he's wearing one of my favorite hats. Is that hat one of your creations? Did you make that?
It is. And the side, you see what it says on the side?
Yeah, love is the law. It's a 305. So is 305 the area code for Miami?
It is. It's where I grew up.
All right, let's get there. What I like to do is I like to start from the beginning, man. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Havana, Cuba, and I was raised in Miami Beach, Florida. And I say Miami Beach because it really is quite different than Miami, and it's a marked difference, especially when I grew up there, it was not as chic as it is now. It was not as slick.
Okay, so growing up in Miami, if I understand this correctly, your mom and you and your sister, y'all escaped from Cuba, right?
Yeah, and my grandmother.
And your grandmother was with you. Okay, cool. I have so many questions. This is crazy. Okay, now you never wanted to be an actor, but your mom was part of a theater company. And was it really comprised of exiled Cuban actors? Is that true?
Yeah. They didn't speak English very well, or some didn't speak English at all. They had just sort of come over from Cuba. My mother spoke some English because, she learned English in school there. But my mother was an actress in Cuba. So when they came over, she knew some people from her community, and they were in Miami, and they had a theater company that was called Pro Arte Gratelli, which I don't even know if it's around anymore or what, but it existed. And she was in this company. They did plays and I was I think the only kid, like the default kid. So I would get put in plays sometimes but I didn't want to be an actor. All my heroes were British guitar players. I wanted to be Jimmy Page, basically. Jimmy Page is in many ways, the catalyst that launches me into any artistic endeavor, really.
Well, that and your mom and your grandmother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Your grandmother worked at the box office for a movie theater. Was it for 35 years? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that where you became interested in movies? Not becoming an actor, but falling in love with TV and film in general? Was it from her?
When I was a little kid, she would talk to me about a lot of actors, like a lot of these were matinee idols and stuff like that. And so she would talk to me about that. But you have to understand that my head was like in a rock band. I was this kid, I had long hair, and I was like, that's what I'm doing, man. It's interesting. So my mother worked in this theater, which my grandmother also worked in. There's a theater on Flagler Street in Miami. It's been knocked down now. It was beautiful, like Art Deco. There was like a comedy show. My mother was in the comedy show, and they had a live band. There was nobody to leave me with. My mother would bring me to the theater, and I would sit in one of the seats, next to the drummer in the band. I could see him. I started playing guitar because I started playing drums first. So I would watch this guy play the drums, and I was like, that looks cool. I like that, So I started doing that on boxes. I was like maybe 5 or 6. I started doing that on boxes, and then literally boxes and pencils. And then my mother bought me a drum kit, which is a whole other story.
So that band, was it a jazz band?
Yeah, it was like an orchestra band that plays during a variety show,
I love that. And then that led to your mom actually buying you a drum set in your tiny apartment?
That's correct. She bought me a drum kit, and we lived and they call them in Miami Beach efficiencies, which is like a studio apartment that has like a little kitchen, a little tiny dining room. All 4 of us lived in that apartment. I was the youngest. I shared a bed with my grandmother. My sister had her own bed, and my mother had slept on a cot.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy, man.
That is a find a way, make a way generation, your mom and your grandma.
Oh, yeah, man. I can't even comprehend the sort of bravery or just the staggering balls you have to leave a country and go to another country where you don't speak the language. As a single mom, my parents were divorced at that time, 2 kids. I wouldn't do that now as a dude with no kids.
Right.
I
wouldn't move to another country that I did speak the language if I didn't have a job already, you know what I mean? Or some money.
Sure.
That's crazy.
But, my story is not unique. That's the Cuban or the immigrant story is legion. I'm one of millions.
Oh, sure. That's why I said that's a generation of a make a way, find a way.
It is.
Let's talk about music. So you wanted to be Jimmy Page. You're listening to Bebop Deluxe and all the cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When was it that you first got on stage, like in front of people with a band? Like, when did you first experience?
I joined a band at 14. So I knew these 2 guys, the Ramos brothers. They were putting a band together, and I knew them because our mothers were friends, and they had a band, and then I joined. So we formed a band. I was 14. I started playing guitar at 12, and we rehearsed in the garage, in their parents' garage. Alex Ramos, Ariel Ramos, Paul Arango on bass, and me on guitar. Alex on guitar and sang, and Ariel played drums. And I still know those guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's completely crazy. Yeah.
Do you ever play with them?
I haven't played with them since then, but my friend Robert Lamont, who wound up playing in a very successful band called Nuclear Valdez, is one of my best friends. I know him since I'm 15. I'm still friends with all those guys. Him I played with, the guys that I jam with or done any music with has been way later. I played in bands and made records, and then acting came in or, returned, one could say. And I haven't been in a band in ages, but I'm friends with a lot of guys in bands.
Yes, you are. Oh, well, let's talk about some of that. How did you become friends with the great and powerful Rob Halford? Oh, my God, from Judas Priest. How did you become friends with that guy?
So the Screaming for Vengeance record was made in Miami, and I was playing in a band, in a heavy metal band, and we would do a whole set of Judas Priest. It was a cover band. Back when there was a live music scene, a very hard rock live music scene in Miami, that's kind of gone. There was a bar in Hollandale that was a very famous rock bar, and we played there all the time. And we would do a set of Judas Priest. And My friend George met Halford in Miami somewhere. They made that record in Coconut Grove, Miami. He said, hey, you should come see my friend's band. They do a whole set of Judas Priest. So he came, he kept coming back, and then he would get up and sing the set with us.
Oh, wow.
And then that spread around town, and then the people would jam into that place, and it was just fucking insane. So my girlfriend at the time and myself became really good friends with Rob, and I've stayed friends with him since then. It's an unbelievable story, you know. And then Tom Allum, who produced a lot of the Judas Priest records, wound up producing a record that I did with a band that I was with called Urgent that we were on EMI with. I knew Tom because I knew him through Rob and Glenn Tipton and those guys. And when we were going to make that second record, I suggested that we talk to Tom, you know, even though it wasn't as heavy as Priest, but Tom had made a Loverboy record. And anyways, so everything just kept going back in a circle. So I just actually was just texting with Rob the other day. You know, he's a dear friend and an extraordinary human being. I was interviewed for his book. He asked if I would speak, you know, because I was there through some of his darkest moments that we won't go into, but, you know.
So I grew up with my dad. He was in hard rock, heavy metal bands as well. He played bass and sang, and they did a lot of Judas Priest. So I grew up on Judas Priest, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, even though my last name is Owens, I am in no way related to Ripper Owens. So none of that's my fault.
You know, that's a complicated story, man. The Ripper, that whole thing is crazy.
That is nuts. One of the things that brought me great joy within the last 12 months was Dolly Parton released an album of rock songs, and she had a duet with Rob Halford on it. My wife did not grow up listening to Judas Priest, and so she was like, who's this guy? And I said, well, let me explain it to you. And then I put on some Judas Priest, and she was like, holy shit, how have I never heard this before? And I'm like, well, now you have.
His musical palette is insanely diverse, man. I mean, I remember back in it, he used to listen to Michael Jackson, loves Annie Lennox. He loves incredible singers.
Well, I think that real artists are like that. They listen to everything because you can find art anywhere you look or listen. And
Sure.
I think that if anybody is really just kind of siloed into their one thing, then I don't really think that open-minded or that creative of an artist. That's my personal opinion.
I agree.
You're also friends with Ian Astbury from The Cult. Now, before I ask you how that happened, in 1995, my best friend and I went to go see The Cult live in San Antonio. We were so excited. Oh, my God. They got on stage. They played. I don't think that they were having a good time. Ian did not seem like he was having a good time. He seemed like he didn't want to be there. That was in March of 95. 2 weeks later, they broke up. So I was right. They were not having a good time. But, you know, as a kid, you're constantly trying to make sense of things. And so I was just like, oh, no, I'm bad luck. I broke up The Cult. How did you become friends with Ian Astbury from The Cult?
Ian Astbury lived in New York for a long time. And his girlfriend at the time, who was represented at an agency that I was at as well. One day there was a flyer for a play that she was doing, and it said produced by Ian Astbury. And I went, what? Who put this here? And I was like, oh, it was Lakey. So I went back and I said, what is this? He goes, yeah, that's what clients play. And I said, is this Ian Astbury from The Cult? He said, yeah, Ian. I go, okay, I need to meet Ian. I literally just said, you got to make that happen. So she did. That was 2007. So I met Ian, had dinner with Ian. We hit it off. We went back to his apartment that night, started playing music.
The first day you met Ian Astbury, you got to play with him?
Yeah. I was like, I'm a guitar player. And he looked at me like, okay. And then I was like, here, let me play something. And he was like, oh, shit.
He was like, oh, great, another actor who thinks he's a guitar player.
Correct. Then we did a gig together. We did an acoustic set. You can see it. It's on YouTube. Just look up Ian Astbury and Yul Vazquez, and it'll come up. So we did a gig together as like a fundraiser for the play he was producing for his girlfriend. I actually helped him put chairs out for the play. So I knew the playwright, which blew his mind because I was one of the founding members of Labyrinth Theater Company, and John Patrick Shanley was a member of Labyrinth. So I was like, I know the guy who wrote that play. Like, you think he would come? I go, well, I'll talk to him. I don't know if he'll come. So became friends with Ian, became fast and furious friends with Ian. Been friends with him ever since. We talk a lot. We communicate. He just had a baby.
Oh, okay. This is the last fanboy one. Okay, Maynard James Keenan from Tool. Come on. You're friends with him too?
Yeah, I just saw him the other night. He was here in New York. In fact, I posted a photo, I think, of me and Maynard is wearing a Cult t-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Because the Cult just played with Tool in Mexico City.
Wow. Have you been to Geronimo? Have you been to Maynard's place in Geronimo?
In Jerome.
It's Jerome? I was there. It's not called Geronimo?
No, it's Jerome.
I'm talking about the winery, right? Like the vineyard. I mean, at the top of the mountain.
And yes, I've been to all that.
I have his wine downstairs. Caduceus, everybody. I have his wine downstairs, and this whole time I thought it was Geronimo.
Yeah, it's Jerome.
Oh my God. What an idiot.
I've been there. I've been to everything he has in Cottonwood, which is really extensive. He has a trattoria, a whole empire, man. It's amazing. He's a brilliant guy.
Oh, he's a genius. How did you guys know each other? How'd you become friends?
I met him through Sam Rockwell, oddly enough. And Sam didn't know who he was, really, And I said, Sam, he's one of the most important artists of my time. So I'm the one who wound up becoming really good friends with Maynard and not Sam, which is really interesting. That was in 2016. And I've been friends with him ever since. And he was literally just here the other night. We're good buddies. I'm going to Toronto to shoot something, and I'm going to go see him. The Sesanta 2.0 is playing in Toronto. As you know, he's got 3 bands.
Sure. Why limit yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. Why limit yourself to 3 bands in a winery, I mean, he's one of the greatest minds I've ever met.
One of the things that I find about creators, the more that I talk to them, is that they're never just creative in one path. Like you yourself, you're a guitarist, a painter, a photographer, creator of one of the dopest ball caps I've ever seen, and an actor. And it sounds like Maynard is too. Like you guys just can't contain yourselves, man. You have so much creativity. It just bursts in so many different avenues. And I love that about the creative peoples.
Thank you, man. I think it's important to stay fluid.
Sure. You can't keep that bottled up.
Hey, Streetwalkers. Here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we haven't mentioned it or vaguely, but Yul was a guitarist for Urgent and Diving for Pearls, which were both signed to 2 different major labels. And that was before he even became an actor. This dude is the bee's knees. On that note, will you tell me how the great Holly Lebed and Bill Esper changed your life?
Yeah, I was in Diving for Pearls, and the singer in the band's girlfriend at the time worked for Holly Lebed. Oliver Stone was casting a film about the Doors. I was in Diving for Pearls. We had gotten dropped from Epic, and we were trying to shop another deal, and we were trying to write music to get another deal. Never an easy time for a band. And I used to talk to her, this woman, Camille Serio, about acting, because I always loved acting, because acting was was in my life, and my mother, and my grand, So she said, hey, Oliver Stone's casting is worried about the Doors. They're looking for band dudes, and I had long hair. And she said, why don't you come meet my boss? I said, we'll send you off for an audition for the Oliver Stone movie. And I went, okay, sure, I'll come down. I'll go. So I went down, and I met Holly Lebed, and I think I brought an acoustic guitar, and I don't know, I played a song. I don't even remember. Yeah, I think I played a song for her, some shit. And we're very close to this day. Holly looked at me and said, listen, I don't know if you can act, but you're kind of interesting. I'll send you in for this audition. So she did. She sent me in for this audition to a casting director called Billy Hopkins, who became very instrumental in my life, wound up giving me my first job as an actor, which comes 6 months to a year after that meeting for the Doors movie. So I didn't get that Doors job. And Holly said to me, he goes, look, if you're serious about acting, I'd like for you to take a class. She connects me with Bill Esper. Bill Esper then sort of changes my insides in interesting ways. I started becoming happier as a person. I was unhappy in the band. I don't really talk about that time a lot, but, it wasn't a great situation with a couple of those guys as well. And, it was a dark time trying to get a deal. That's always very hard to come back. So this acting class is feeding me this amazing energy. I'm learning a lot about myself. I have a teacher, this man, as a kid who grew up with no father, this man understands things about me that my own father never understood. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm beginning to come to life, I'm becoming a happier person. So I basically quit the band and I stay in the acting class. And 6 months later, I have my first job, which is a film called The Mambo Kings. through the same casting director that had brought me in for the Doors movie.
Oh, okay.
So that class changed my life in a couple of ways. That's also where I meet Sam Rockwell, who was best man at my wedding.
So you met him in that class?
Yeah, it's quite a journey. I think maybe one day I should write a book or some shit.
You think?
I mean, you got to sit down and write it, man. You know what I mean, Steve? It's like, who the hell wants to sit down and write anything?
Well, one of the things that you can do is put together or have somebody else put together some of these stories from all these interviews that you've done, because you've already told the stories. You just need somebody to write them down.
Yeah.
I think you should call your book The Worm.
Interesting. Why?
Because that's what the Cuban refugees who went back were called, like when they visit.
Correct. They called us worms.
That's what I think. You should call it The Worm, like Cuban Story Done Good or whatever. Like, you made it, dude. You're... Jesus Christ. I said I wasn't going to fanboy out, so I'm not going to.
Come on, Steve. We know each other a while now. Come on. And you know all my fucking friends.
Oh, speaking of which, I have a question for you from a previous guest and fellow CAD.
Oh.
And I quote, "Do you blame yourself for Julian Watley's The Social Disease not being a bigger hit? And did you feel intimidated by working with the great Spencer Garrett?"
I'll tell you, nobody's asked me to join the CADs. That's their thing, and I'm not in the CAD.
You're not in it?
I have not been invited.
Oh, no.
To join the CAD. So you tell Spencer that I said that. I love Spencer so much, and I love Dana. His girlfriend is incredible. No, I do not feel responsible for the social disease. On a sad note, Julian lost his house in the Palisades fires.
Oh.
Yeah, Julian has become
That's rough.
A painter since then. Not only is he a painter, he makes his own pigments. He grinds his own it's unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah. He's that kind of brain, though.
Like old school.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But you tell Spencer, I'm still waiting for my CAD invite. So fuck him.
Oh, I'm going to make sure that happens. I'm going to get all the CADs in on this. This is nuts. I can't believe you're not a CAD.
No.
That is crazy.
I think so.
I want to talk a little bit about your artwork. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to yulvazquez.com, you will find absolutely nothing about his acting. But what you will find is a shitload of amazing photography and paintings. I have heard you describe your photos as documentary street. Explain what that means and how you go about taking your photos, please.
I go about my day. I'll show you. Well, there's two cameras right here.
Okay.
That I work with. And then there's a closet there with a lot of film cameras. So what I do, it's me going about my day. And the things I photograph are things that are, how do I explain this? I see something and it creates a feeling in me, or I see something and it reminds me of something and I photograph that. I'm not looking for specific things. I walk by people, I'll take their picture. I'll see a guy on a phone, so I'll take his picture. And I work real fast with small, fast cameras. Sometimes I ask people, "May I take your photo?" And some people say yes, and some people say no, and that's cool too. I've taken photos of people, and they're like, "Hey, man, you took my photo." It's weird because I like to get close. So it is documenting me going about my day. I'll photograph out of the window of an Uber, going to whatever, downtown or some shit. I don't know. I'll look at a building and I'll take a picture of that. They're about spirits. I see things that speak to me, and it may not speak to somebody else, but I see there's a feeling produced. And then that's what I try to capture with the camera. Sometimes you capture it, sometimes you don't.
A few years ago, I guess, oh my God, it's 10 years now. Holy shit. My wife and I were in Toronto. We were on the Maiden of the Mist, which is the boat that takes you, on the Niagara Falls.
Sure.
So we were, on the Canada side. So we were looking up at the cliffs and the waterfall. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I took this photo with, it was the first smartphone I ever had. It was a Samsung S3. And so I took this photo and I was just like, whatever, and then I got back home and I was flipping through all the photos from the trip. And this photo, I loved it so much. It was just so pretty. It had rainbows and the people and the waterfall and it was just gorgeous. And so I took it and I had it blown up to like 3 by 4 feet, like huge. And what really surprised me, and the reason that I mentioned the phone was because That was the first picture that I took where I blew it up and it didn't lose any of its integrity, like it didn't get all pixelated and shitty.
Sure.
And I took it to have it framed because it was just so pretty. And the guy said, he goes, yeah, well, we can put a border or whatever those things are called. We can put that around it, but you're going to cut out some of these people up here. And I go, bro, I don't know them. Like, knock yourself out. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And so that photo that I blew up and had framed is hanging in my bedroom above my TV for like the last 10 years. It's like my favorite photo I've ever taken.
That's awesome. That's a great place.
Oh, the Niagara Falls?
Yeah, I've been there. That place is crazy.
It is insane.
There's a photo of it when it was dry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was something going on. They stopped the water. I think there's a photo where it's fucking dry.
I bet that looks insane.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I want to talk about your painting. This right here.
Yeah.
This is canvas. This is a painting done by a local street artist here in San Antonio. And it's obviously one of my favorite things because he did it for me and it's right here all the time.
Yeah.
Tell me about your paintings. Now, you have described your paintings as remembrances from your childhood. I have a favorite painting of yours from your website. I don't know what they're called. I would assume this one was called Let There Be Light.
Oh, is it Tesla?
It's this one.
Yeah.
So can you explain like how you go about your paintings and how are they remembrances from your childhood, if they still are? I don't know if that's an older quote.
Some of them more than others. That particular one you have there, I have an obsession with Nikola Tesla. Speaking of Niagara Falls, a lot of turbines he had up there for Westinghouse and all that.
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you real quick about Nikola Tesla. Every time my wife and I go to New York, we stay in New Jersey because who can afford to stay in New York? And so we stay in Rahway, New Jersey, which is like 6 stops away on the train. And if you go to the train station in Rahway, New Jersey, there is a statue of Nikola Tesla in front of the train station. Like it's there. I guess he used to live there or some shit like that. But it blew me away that there was a statue of Nikola Tesla in New Jersey. I was like, where am I?
Yeah. I lived down the street from one of his laboratories here. It's called the Radio Wave Building. And he had a lab in there. He had a couple labs, and then he had a giant sort of Tesla coil in Weidencliff in Long Island that they've since, taken down, but it's a museum now. But that's a photo of Tesla in one of his labs that I found. And I blew up the photo and I printed the photo and then I painted over the photo. That painting is that. And that painting is gigantic.
So is that him sitting in the chair?
That's Nikola Tesla sitting in the chair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But some of the other paintings, they have a lot of scribbles and stuff that is from my childhood because my mother was into some occult ideas, so I grew up with these sort of alternative religions in my house. And
was it Santeria?
yes.
Okay.
Some of that is the iconography of that stuff. I was never into it, but it was very important to my mother. So it reminds me of my mother. It reminds me of things I saw written down as a kid, and then those things find themselves into the painting. Maybe I'm trying to work out some childhood shit, Steve. I don't fucking know.
Aren't we all?
I'm doing the best I can, man. Do what I can, bro.
Okay, so as we record this, we are 2 days away from your 23rd wedding anniversary.
That's correct.
I know that's correct, but this won't air until after that, obviously. So what did you get her?
You know the actor Josh Charles?
Yes, I do.
His wife, Sophie Charles, has a fantastic jewelry company. And she's a jewelry designer. It's called Mad Fine. And I bought a necklace for my wife. In fact, I picked it up yesterday from Sophie. My wife doesn't know, but my wife could come in that door at any moment.
Well, we won't bring it up again. How about that? That's really cool. Shout out Josh Charles's wife, Sophie. That's cool.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So my wife and I, we got married the same year as you, just like 2 months later, like in July. Here in San Antonio, there's a jazz club called Jazz Texas. And last year, like the week of our anniversary, they did a special tribute to a documentary film called Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah.
Have you seen this film, this documentary?
The documentary called Buena Vista Social Club?
Yeah. Did you see the documentary?
Oh, yeah, of course. And I saw the Broadway show the other night. My friend is a producer on the Broadway show.
Oh, kick ass.
It's a fucking hit show here.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it should be. That's awesome. Jazz Texas did a tribute to the movie because I think it was like 25 years, I think, last year. Anyway, so we went to see that. That was our anniversary kind of present to each other. It was just amazing. So Yul doesn't need to know this, but everybody listening, if you ever have a chance to see either the documentary Buena Vista Social Club or like, I guess there's a play or a show, go check that out if you're anywhere around. Like, just look up the movie. It is such a compelling movie.
Yeah.
I know that you have gone back to Cuba and I think you hold 2 passports. But, well, when you're in Miami, do you still ride your bicycle everywhere?
It's weird, man. I've been riding it less because a lot of these people in Miami drive now. They're on their phones. I started wearing a helmet on my bike, which is just something I never did my whole fucking life. But I do ride it, but I'll ride it like in areas because I just want to enjoy the ride. But, it's become problematic. People are on their phones. I almost got clipped a couple of times by some person at a stop sign.
Ooh.
They're looking at their phone and then they look this way and then they take off. But I'm here. I mean, it's like, they don't care. It's like, dude, it's terrible. I mean, I don't need to tell you. That's how, it's going happening here in Manhattan and scooters and this. I don't know.
That's crazy. You got to be careful out there, bro. My mom was walking downtown in San Antonio, walking past the exit for a parking garage. And same thing, the guy wasn't looking and he just hit my mom. She was a pedestrian and he hit her. Like, he just ran her over. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, but that's what's going on, man. People are distracted, man.
It's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned Yul has an anniversary coming up. He is married to a real, legitimate, actual princess. Princess Jasmine, Linda Larkin. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that movie. My son was born in 1992 and that movie was just on repeat, dude. Love that movie so much. How did you guys meet?
We had a mutual circle of friends. We can't even actually place the exact time we met, but we were all in a circle of friends. So we were friends first for probably like 3 years, and then that sort of developed into something else, but it's cool, because we were friends. So I knew that she was cool and I liked her, she's a good person. And, that's always helpful.
It is always helpful. My mom introduced me to my wife and, we're 23 years into this. So good job, Ma.
Wow. Your mom.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. We've been married 23 years now. She is the most amazing woman.
There you go.
All right. We're going to talk about acting now. I got to know this. Is this a true story? Did a psychic at the Gramercy Park Hotel really tell you that you were going to be an actor long before you even wanted to be one?
That's true.
How? What were you doing there? What happened?
A friend of mine knew this psychic who came into town. It was Sting's psychic. Psychic worked for Sting and Trudy. And I'm going to tell you, man, this is a long time ago, way before acting was even on the sort of radar. And the guy said to me, basically, you're going into acting and this is this and this and this. And I was like, I looked at this guy like, this is a fucking crock of shit. This is a colossal waste of money, He was fucking right.
Yeah, yes, he was.
It's really crazy. You know what I mean? Really crazy. It's funny because I always loved watching actors and, performances, but I was so obsessed with playing guitar and certain guitar players that were like, I studied and I would woodshed, man. And I'm surrounded. I have guitars everywhere. I'm always playing a guitar. So the fact that anybody would tell me that was such a foreign, I was like, no. But the thing is, Steve, you never know what life throws in your way. You can go a certain way and signposts are coming up and you can look at them or you cannot look at them. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed acting. And studying with Bill Esper, changing my existence as a human. I spoke to Bill when I was going to leave the band. I said, listen, I'm thinking of this. And he looked at me. He said, look, I can't tell you what to do. You've been in a band since you're 14 years old. But if you're asking me if I think you have talent as an actor, the answer is yes, but you have to make your own decision. And that was that, really.
You mentioned earlier that your mom was part of this theater company. Hmm? Was she a founder of it?
I don't think she was a founder of it. I think it was already in existence, and then she joined it because I knew the company, and I knew this actress called Belia Martinez in it. At the time, Belia Martinez was quite up there in years, but she had been a formidable actress in Cuba. So, you have to understand a lot of these folks, they fled. They were actors, and they had careers in Cuba. And now they're fish out of water. They don't really speak English. You're in Miami, which at the time was not, you weren't going to be cast in anything out of Miami. Just like when I was playing in a band in Miami, you weren't going to be signed. Your band was not going to get signed out of Miami.
Right.
You had to go somewhere else. That's how I leave New York, is because my then girlfriend, I was in a cover band, as I told you, and we played our own music, but I'd taken that as far as that could possibly go in Miami. That was maxed out. And she said to me, if you stay here, you're going to fucking rot here and nothing will become of you as a guitar player. And she had a friend who was looking at this band called Urgent. That band wound up signing to Manhattan EMI, but at the time, Epic was looking at that band and they were like, they think they might want to change guitar players. And she got me this audition and I came to New York to audition for Urgent. I remember I got here, I went to the managers, they gave me a cassette. I learned like 3 songs and then I went to an audition. I don't remember exactly where it was. And they hired me. They fucking hired me. Now I've lived in New York. You understand, like I never lived that far away from my mom. That was a foreign thought to me, man. I've always told people, I said, my entire life really is a series of well-executed decisions by very smart women, starting with my mother deciding to leave Cuba and come to the United States and say, I'm not going to live here under this. I'm not doing this. That's number one. And then from there, it's literally, you could string them all along and tell you exactly how I wound up here. Holly Lebed, another one who said, there's something about you. I don't know. It's crazy, but I'm telling you the fucking truth. That's it.
I love when people who have an effect on you get their due. You co-founded the Labyrinth Theater with Philip Seymour Hoffman and John Leguizamo. What led you to...
Not Leguizamo, John Ortiz.
Oh, John wasn't part of that?
John was a member early on, but then John Leguizamo, he was around, but...
He wasn't a founder.
The founders really are, and there's a couple of guys missing from it. It was Gary Perez and David Deblinger and Paul Calderon. Paul Calderon, he left too, but those other guys are still around.
What led you guys to start this theater company?
There was a play on Broadway at the time, an Ariel Dorfman play called Death and the Maiden. And it was about a family in Chile. And they cast all these American and British actors in it. And when they were asked why there was no Latino actors in New York, this play on Broadway, and they said, well, we couldn't find any good ones. So that shocked people into saying, oh, okay, well, we're going to start a company and we're going to do plays and we're going to cast ourselves in these plays. And that's in a very simple Cliff Note way how Labyrinth starts.
And I understand that you're not really a part of it now. I don't need to know why, but how long have you not really been a part of it?
I'm adjacent. When Phil passed away, I just felt the need to, I was sitting on the board at the time, and I just felt like I needed to take a step back from it. Phil's loss was pretty fucking devastating. Not only just Phil's loss, but we lost 2 guys within 3 weeks. There's another guy, a very instrumental guy, the Labyrinth, who produced a lot of the events, and a guy who really was a doer, a guy called Ed Vassallo, who was a dear friend of mine and maybe my wife Linda's best friend. He died 3 weeks after Phil. And now the really bizarre thing is that Ed was sick. Ed had leukemia. And he had been good for a couple of years and then had returned. And then he had a bone marrow transplant and it didn't really work. He was quite ill. But Phil dies very suddenly, as you know. Ed was at Phil's funeral, which is not anything that really made any sense. And then 3 weeks later, Ed passed away. So it was 2 guys from the company. And I was just like, I need to step back, but I'm going to do the charades event for them coming up on Monday.
Oh,
but I'm friends with many people in the company.
Sure.
I just couldn't be in a directorial or board position. It was too much for me.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Leukemia is a bad motherfucker. That's what got my mom.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you. We're supposed to be talking about acting, Steve, not leukemia. I'm so sorry. My bad.
Wait, we're talking about life, Steve. Is it all life?
That's true.
This is just life, man. Yeah.
Let's talk about Puerto Rican life. You're Cuban.
I am.
You played a Puerto Rican 3 times on Seinfeld. Did you catch any shit from your Cuban friends?
No. I think people responded to the madness of that character. That was fun to do, man. And an interesting time. That changed the landscape of things for me.
Did it?
Yeah. I'd never watched Seinfeld.
Have you watched it since? Like, did you ever go back and watch it?
Oh, yeah. I've watched it. Okay. I've watched it, and I've run into Jerry. And the crazy thing about it was I was in L.A., and Holly Lebed says, there's a last-minute audition. You have to go now to CBS Radford. Because a lot of these situation comedies, the characters are written, and they're like, this works tomorrow. Let's try and find the actor. I mean, it literally moves that fast. She says, they've written this character. Could you go over there? So I go over there. I drive to CBS Radford and I get the size and I'm sitting there. There's a bunch of people there and it's called Bob the Intimidating Gay Guy. I did think fast. And I thought, well, I'll just do an impersonation of my mother, who was a very intimidating person. So basically it's an impersonation of my mom. So I did it for Jerry and for Larry David. They were in the room and they were like, what the fuck is that? And I go, it's my mom. They're like, well, do it again. So I did it again. And they're like, okay, go sit outside. And then I got the job. So, I mean, again, Holly Levitt had an enlightened moment.
Did your mom ever get to see that?
Yeah, my mom saw that because my mom passes away in 2009.
Okay.
And I do the first one of those I do in 95.
I think it was 95, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 in the same season, right?
Yeah, then the ribbon, the age walk episode.
Hilarious.
It's completely insane. Yeah.
I have had multiple people from Seinfeld on here before. I had Clint Howard on. Do you know Clint?
Sure. I don't know him personally, but I like him.
He's a really good friend of mine. I love that guy so much.
He seems like a nice guy.
He is that whole family is just salt of the earth. It started from the top down. Rance Howard, their dad.
Yeah.
He was on Seinfeld twice, and he was on my show too, right before he passed. He was a great guy as well. And then John Kapelos. You know who that guy is? Is he a friend of yours?
I don't know John, but I know who he is.
Yeah, so John was on, and so was Tim DeKay, who played Bizarro Jerry. I love all those guys.
I think John Kapelos is in a movie called Internal Affairs.
That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grew up with knowing him from Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and shit like that, but he's pretty sick.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Warning. Not listening to Fascination Street podcast may cause unexpected side effects. Side effects may include sudden fits of boredom, irrational curiosity about everything you missed, the inability to name your favorite podcast interview, spontaneous ignorance of obscure celebrity stories, talking to coworkers about nothing because you didn't hear the latest episode. Other symptoms may include excessive use of the phrase, wait, what happened? Chronic seriousness with no trace of laughter or delight, unexplainable urge to scroll aimlessly instead of being entertained. In rare cases, not listening may lead to wandering aimlessly through podcast apps, overexposure to true crime reruns, and thinking you're cooler than you actually are. If you find yourself experiencing any of these symptoms, stop what you're doing immediately and download Fascination Street Podcast. Ask your podcaster if Fascination Street Podcast is right for you. Spoiler alert, it is.
Let's get back into it.
Weird question out of nowhere. Do you still have the 1962 reissue .NET 335 Gibson custom shop that Russell gave you?
Oh, yeah, it's in the closet. Of course. I would never get rid of that guitar. I could never. No, Russell gave me that. I mean, it's in the closet. It's incredible.
How many guitars do you have?
I mean, at present, I probably have about 16, 17, which is not a lot. It's a lot for a guy who doesn't play in a band, who hasn't been in a band in fucking years.
Why is that? Why won't you go in a band? Why won't you do it? Michael Imperioli does it.
I would do it. If somebody came to me and said, hey, you want to do this? But it would have to be the right situation and the right guys, or else it's a lot of work. I just made a short film that is being mixed now. Maynard gave us a song.
Ooh.
He gave us a Pussifer song.
Wow.
Very generous. Maynard and Matt Mitchell and Karina Ryan and their whole organization gave us a song free to use in the film. And then the original score I composed with guitar and synthesizer. So when that's finished, you'll see that.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait.
Directed by Sarah Seligman, who did a block of Hotel Cocaine. I met her on that, and very smart, very brilliant. And produced by Debbie Ohanian, who is the producer on Brenda Vista Social Club. So you see how it all goes like this.
A producer on the play?
On the play, correct.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
Correct.
Yeah, everything is connected, isn't it?
Everything is everything, my friend.
Everything is everything. And I think that if you follow that one rule that's on the side of your hat, everything just falls into place, right?
Exactly. Just try and love people and don't be a dick.
You were on a TV show it's one of my favorite TV shows that I've ever seen. It was called Magic City. Tell me how you came to be involved with that, and was it as amazing to be on the set as it appears to have been?
It was even more amazing to be on the set. It was the most extraordinary sets I'd ever seen in my life. Very expensive show created by a guy called Mitch Glazer, who to this day is one of my best friends. He's like a brother to me. So Mitch and Jeffrey D. Morgan also lives not far from here and is like my brother, Christian Cook, Dominique Garcia, who played my daughter, whose father is Andy Garcia, who's a very good friend of mine. Kelly Lynch. All those folks became very close. We have a text thread together. And you have to realize that show was only 2 seasons in 2011 and 2012.
Sadly, it broke my heart there was only 2 seasons.
It broke everybody's heart. Mitch has another show that's incredible that he's been trying to get going. But Mitch is a genius. And that show is about Mitch's childhood. Mitch grew up in Miami Beach. So, when Mitch cast me in the show, he had no idea that I was from Miami Beach.
Oh, wow.
Or that I was even Cuban, which is really crazy. I was here in New York. I was doing a play. I had made an audition tape and Mitch saw it, and then they wanted to bring me out to LA to do a chemistry read with Jeff. But I couldn't because I was doing 8 shows a week on Broadway.
Is that the show that you were nominated for a Tony Award?
Correct.
Okay.
So they had to just make a decision whether to cast me or not, because I wasn't going to be able to go to the chemistry read. You know, I don't know who else they were looking at, but Mitch says, no, fuck it. I want him. I want him for this. It's not until we're all in Miami that he realizes that the guy he took a shot on is from Miami Beach and he's Cuban. So he's like, what? I'll go, yeah, bro, I thought you knew that. He's like, no, dude, I didn't fucking know that. I'm like, well, it's a good thing you cast me.
Love that.
That show is extraordinary. Extraordinary, stunning, beautiful show. Shot by Gabrielle Beristain. We used special lenses, these special Baltar lenses, which we use on The Godfather. I mean, it was a very expensive, you could tell, and very rich.
Oh, you could tell it was expensive. It was gorgeous.
Incredibly expensive.
That was one of the things that attracted me to it in the first place, was how beautifully it was shot. It's a period piece, but it doesn't look like it was a period piece created later. It looks like it was of that time. It looks like it was made back then. It's so pretty.
Well, the production designer, may he rest in peace, a guy called Carlos Barboza, production design on this is incredible because the hallways to those hotels, back then, maids' carts were enormous. So hotel hallways were not these narrow things we know now because, they're trying to jam pack as many rooms. They were fucking wide. And our hotel set was just like that. And the AC in the set was practical. It wasn't fake. It was connected to the actual AC. There was stuff on the maid's carts. There was matches. There was shit that you were never going to see that was there that made it all so fucking real. And that set with the portholes and the bar and back, that's a set. That's based on the Eden Rock Hotel. That was built. That's a water tank that was built. And there was mermaids in there swimming. I mean, it was beyond comprehension how incredible this was. So fucking incredible that the Hollywood Foreign Press came down, like they brought them down to look at and the costumes were like real shit. They weren't like repro. There was some repro shit, but for the most part, it was all vintage, legit pieces.
Wow.
Because in the HD, you can see the fabric.
Right.
A shitty fabric in HD looks horrible. Nobody wants to see that.
That's true.
Just like a shitty wig.
Yeah.
You see the wig lace. You see, like, it just doesn't look right.
That minute detail, like talking about the matchbooks and things, it reminds me, Ron Howard, he made the Grinch movie, right?
Yeah.
That movie was so detailed that they actually printed money, like paper money and coins that were for the Whoville money. It was like, and I have some framed, but you're never going to see that. That came out before HD. So I'm just like, why? And he was just like, details matter. I was like, oh.
Details matter, man. Mitch Glazer is the brains behind Magic City. I mean, there was details there that nobody would have known. Like there was a thing on Lincoln Road where I grew up, where Mitch also grew up. And there's a Saks Fifth Avenue store. And the entrance, there was this hole that would mist perfume. So as you walk by, this fragrance, that's in the fucking show, dude. That's in the show.
Wow.
What Mitch did, I've been on some amazing sets, bro.
Yes, you have.
This was another fucking level. Like we had 200,000 square feet of stages.
Oh my God.
In Miami. This was opulent, man.
Wow. Everybody go check out Magic City. You will not be disappointed, except that when you get to the end, there's no more.
You never know. Might come back, Steve.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'd like to try and bring that show back.
Well, I would love for you to do that. It would really be awesome for me as a viewer. I know we don't have a whole lot of time here. I'm taking up your whole day, but I want to talk about Severance real quick.
Let's do it.
First, tell me what it was like to work on Severance with B. Arthur.
I love B. Arthur. I got on a B. Arthur kick when I was doing that. I don't know why. We had to wear all this masks. It was height of COVID. Literally height of COVID, September 2020. So no vaccines. There was testing, but it wasn't, extraordinary. You had to go into a trailer and the whole thing. Listen, man, again, you can never predict what something's going to be. I've known Ben Stiller for a really long time. We've been friends. We get along great. Our wives are friends, but I never worked with Ben. And then this opportunity came up. This is really crazy. I was doing reshoots on a movie in LA and I was flying to Miami. It was March 12th. I'll never forget. March 12th. I fly to Miami because I was going to have my first art show.
Ooh.
And I get to Miami. I was like, I don't feel well. Like literally, I was like, this is weird. I had COVID.
No.
I found out I had COVID. So I had like OG COVID. So the whole world shuts down. Obviously, the art show's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. The entire world shuts. So my wife and I are in Miami, and we're stuck in Miami. We have a home in Miami, so thank God we were home, but no one's going anywhere. So I'm just kind of going along with the flow of what's happening in the world, And then my agent says, hey, Ben Stiller wants to have a Zoom with you about this show. And I go, great. I love Ben. We Zoomed. We had like a work session. He sent me the scenes. We had these ideas for it. And then I did it. And I knew I was doing 4. I knew exactly what my job there was, as opposed to the other folks who didn't really know what was coming, in the upcoming episodes. I knew what my function was, but I was there to do it. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had making a TV show. I love Ben. Ben's one of the most talented human beings you'll ever encounter. And as good an actor as he is, he's as good of a director. And he's a very specific. Talk about detail. That show is like, the detail is just extraordinary. And then the woman who shot it, Jessica Lee Gagne, is brilliant. It's a big part of how that looks. You know what I mean? So again, no one could imagine what it was going to be. It was bizarre, but bizarre in a delicious way. Like, it was just kind of amazing. I love this character. When I read it, I was like, fuck, this is so good. This is so well written. The letter that I read to Mark, thank you for, the greatest niece card, whatever, world's greatest niece, that piece of writing there's a letter he reads that I write to him, but I wrote it on a card that said world's greatest niece. That's all I had, all Petey had.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ben gave me a lot of freedom to make the map, the PD map. And now that you know my art and you look at the PD map, you can see the references between my artwork and the PD map. And I got to play guitar in it.
Yes, we're going to get to that in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason that I referenced B. Arthur is because it wasn't just the mask, but he also had to wear the shield.
Shield.
He named his shield B. Arthur.
Yeah.
And have you seen the credits? Did you watch any of the credits of Severance, the pilot? Did you watch the credits?
No.
In the credits, there's a line, and I guess Ben put it in there, but it says, Yul's shield, B. Arthur.
No. Are you joking?
I am joking. That'd be pretty cool, though.
That'd be amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Apple TV Severance. Everybody knows it. A couple of seasons so far. I'm sure another one's coming. Yul played Petey Kilmer, the woman who plays his daughter, June, Cassidy Layton. Those two, the characters Petey and June, they play Metallica's Enter Sandman on Severance. And the way that they incorporate that into the funeral of your character is just fucking mind-boggling. Whose idea was it for you to play Enter Sandman? I have a hunch.
It was Ben's.
Really?
Yeah. So you want to see how everything is everything? The music supervisor is a guy called George Draculius, who you should follow on Instagram. He's a big producer, produced The Cult, Tom Petty.
Okay.
And that's Ben's guy. So The Cult comes back in, and I'm playing a Gretsch White Falcon, which is what Billy Duffy from The Cult plays on She's So Sanctuary. So I chose the guitar I wanted. Well, in this particular case, it's a Black Falcon, which I wanted to buy, and I mentioned it, and the prop master somehow sneakily forgot that I had mentioned that I wanted to buy the guitar at the end. I should talk to Ben about that, because I'm sure it's still show assets, but Ben wanted Enter Sandman, so we learned it. We learned it and played it.
So you and Cassidy?
Correct. Cassidy played bass and sang it.
How much do people talk about that scene? Like, in your everyday life, how many people just bring up the fact that you crushed Enter Sandman on Severance at your own funeral?
There's something here I could show you. Nobody really talks about that scene so much. They talk about the chip in my head, but there's something here. It's a prayer card from Petey's funeral.
Oh my gosh, they made prayer cards?
Oh, dude, there's a whole stack of prayer cards. I mean, talk about detail.
That is sick. Oh, I love that so much.
I wish I had more. I only have one of these. If I had more, I'd send you one, but I should have taken a stack of these. I only had one.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is really cool.
I also bought some fan art. Somebody made a quilt of the map, the PD map.
Somebody made a quilt out of it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they bought it. So they put it up on a Reddit. There's a Reddit forum. There's one about Severance. Yeah, but somebody made a quilt, and I saw it on the Reddit thing, and I messaged her. I said, hey, would you sell me that? And she did, and I have it.
So you have it? Oh, how cool is that? Was she so excited that it was you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Does she know that it was you?
Well, at first I said, because I talk about Pete, and I wrote, hey, because Dan was on there. Dan, the writer, was on there. He would answer questions, and I went on there, and at first they didn't believe it was me, and I was like, no, dude, it's me. And then when people go, wait a minute, are you the same guy from Seinfeld? Then their heads explode.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
They're like, how can this be the same two people?
Okay, a couple of quick things, and then I'm going to let you go, I promise. But right now, you're in New York, right?
I'm in New York City.
I heard a rumor, and I need you to help me with this. Is this true? Is CBGB's coming back?
I don't know. My God, that would be amazing.
I heard it's coming back. I heard they're going to reopen it.
I hope so. That would be fucking amazing. I played CBGB's.
When? Before Sting?
After Sting.
You're like, no.
Way after Sting. No.
Who were you with when you played there?
Diving for Pearls.
What was it like? Was it as big a shithole as everybody says it was? Was it just gross?
Yeah, but the greatest sound system in New York City.
Really?
Yeah, it was grungy, but it had the greatest sound system in New York City. It was way more sound system than the room needed. So it was very powerful, crazy low end. I mean, it's just a fantastic sound system.
I love that you got to play there. That is sick as hell.
Yeah, I played CB's. Isn't that crazy? Played the China Club. That's where Diving for Pearls got signed out of the China Club.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Oh my gosh, Yul, I have taken up so much of your time. You are gracious beyond words. I love you so much.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure, Steve.
It has been a pleasure going back and forth with you on social media. You are a delight, and you're a pretty damn good jokester.
But we have to send a shout out to Ari, who really organizes this.
Absolutely.
Ari Kadedu. She really keeps my head on straight, which is, and I wouldn't say it's that on straight, but
I would. It's at least keeping your hat straight. How's that?
it's keeping my head straight.
Happy anniversary, my friend, to you and Linda.
Thank you, brother.
I'm so excited for you guys to hit the 23.
Likewise to you. 23 years for you too, right?
Thank you very much. We're excited too. Have a great rest of your week, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You too, my brother.
Thank you so much for taking the time and hang out with us on Fascination Street so we can get to know a little bit more about you, man. You are the bee's knees. Keep painting, keep photographing, keep creating the dopest art in every platform, dude. You're the man.
It's very kind of you, Steve. Thank you so much, my brother. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And let's do it again, baby.
You know, I'm going to ask again. I will reach out, dude. Thank you so much, man. You take it easy.
Peace, brother.
Bye, buddy.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Ven.
Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.